What's up, techies? Hope you guys are doing well at home. Why not utilizing this time to learn a programming language like C Sharp and become a good .NET developer? Welcome to C Sharp Interview Question and Answer video series. This is Akhil. In this entire video series, I've tried to cover C Sharp from beginner till the advanced part. I'm sure you will enjoy this video, and at the end of this session, you'll get good confidence in C Sharp. This entire video series is completely free, that too without any advertisement. In upcoming videos, I'm planning to focus on advanced technologies like ASP.NET MVC, MS SQL, Python, W, Power BI, Django, etc. I urge you to share this link with your friends so that they can get benefit out of it. So let's start journey of learning C Sharp in just 2 hours. Hello, welcome to C Sharp Interview Question and Answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about using keyword in C Sharp and what is fundamental behind iDisposable interface. Going forward, we will learn what is Clr Execution Model, and we will try to understand what is difference between Finalize and Dispose method. .NET Framework supports multiple languages. When you compile a project developed in any programming language that is supported by .NET Framework, it gets compiled to intermediate language, also termed as MSIL. MSIL stands for Microsoft Intermediate Language. When you run your application, this MSIL code gets converted to the native language with the help of CLR. CLR stands for Common Language Runtime, and this is the place where garbage collector GC comes into the picture. What is garbage collector? Garbage collector in .NET Framework plays an important role in memory management so that programmer is least worried about the memory management and can focus more on the application functionality. GC, that is garbage collector, is responsible for clearing the managed resources, but there could be a scenario in a project you are dealing with unmanaged resources, like opening a file, reading a file, or interaction with database. In such scenarios, it is programmer's responsibility to close these unmanaged resources. Garbage collector does not have any information about clearing the unmanaged resources. Garbage collector can call Constructor, and Constructor in turn call Finalize method to clear the unmanaged resources. Make a note that programmer has no control over when the destruct is called because it is determined by garbage collector. So next question is, what is difference between finalize and dispose method in terms of memory management? The common thing between dispose and finalize is that both are used for clearing the unmanaged resources. The difference is that finalize gets called with the help of garbage collector, where dispose can be called by the programmer. Finalize is a bit expensive because it is called by garbage collector. GC maintains separate queue or array where it adds all the object which has finalize method to be implemented. It is always recommended that one should not implement finalize method unless until it is extremely necessary. First priority should always be given to implement dispose method and clean the unmanaged resources as soon as possible when processing is done. Garbage collector has 3 generations: generation 0, generation 1 and generation 2. Garbage collector gets called periodically and it checks in each of the generation whether the object is in use or not. If object is not in use, it is cleared. Can we call garbage collector explicitly? Answer is yes, but it is not recommended. With the help of gc.collect, you can specify generation here to call the respective generations to be cleared. For demonstration purpose, I have created one class student and I have implemented that from iDisposable interface. An iDisposable interface has one method, dispose method, that I have implemented at the bottom. In the constructor, I can initialize member variables, and just after the constructor you can see I have implemented the destructor, which gets called by the garbage collector. And in the dispose method, you can write code to release the unmanaged resources. At the bottom you can see I've used gc.suppress finalize, which will stop the garbage collector to call finalize method. There are a number of classes which implement iDisposable interface. In upcoming videos where we will be interacting with database, we will come across SQL connection. If you click on this and say go to definition, SQL connection class is sealed and it is implementing from DB connection. Click on this and go to definition. This in turn is implementing the iDisposable interface, and iDisposable interface has dispose method. So advantage of dispose method is that you can use using keyword. Say in case of SQL connection, con equal to new SQL connection. As soon as this line of code, line number 22nd, it is traversed, the connection object will be disposed. So can I use using keyword with student? Let's give it a try. As of now, I'm able to do this. Let me get rid of this iDisposable interface implementation. You can see compiler will start throwing the error. A class has to implement iDisposable interface in order to use using statements. Thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day.
One of the straightforward interview questions asked are, what is the difference between var and dynamic, and what is the difference between read-only and const? So if I talk about the var keyword, so this keyword was introduced in C# 3.0 and this is strongly typed. The one thing behind the var is that its data type is determined after the first initializing. Let me emphasize that the first initialization of the variable. As you can see, I have initialized some var to of type is string. Now if I try to initialize the value as some var equal to 1.1, CLR now will be throwing the compile term error, because CLR now has information about what is the type of the some var variable. So there are some constraints with the var type. So we cannot declare the variable var type variable at the global level. See, I cannot find the var keyword here. If I try to declare some string, some concrete data type, I can find that. So second constraint with the var type is that we cannot pass var as a parameter. So if I say public void display is public, if I try to pass string as a parameter, I can do that, but if I try to pass var as a parameter, I cannot do that. Talking about the dynamic keyword, so dynamic keyword was introduced in C# 4.0. So in case of dynamic keyword, so variable type is determined at the runtime. So if I now initialize say some var equal to say 1.1, if I build it, it will not throw any exception or any error, because CLR does not know what is the type of this dynamic keyword. So it will only be determined at the runtime. So can I give it a try to declare a variable of type dynamic as a global one? Say dynamic, I can do that. Say some dynamic equal to 1.1. So this was the constraint in the var. We were not able to create a global level variable using the var. Now if I write the function, say public void display. Now if I try to pass the dynamic as a parameter, see, I'm able to do that. Again, if you are not pretty sure that what is the return type of your function, you can simply assign it to dynamic variable type. Now talking about read only and const. So in order to demonstrate it, let me create a class, say my class, and here I'm just declaring say const public const, say my const value equal to say okay, let me make it as a type string. Now somewhere I've got a function public void display. If I try to reinitialize this value, my const equal to say Raj, if I try to compile it, so it will be giving the compile term error stating that the left hand side of the assignment must be variable or property or an index. Now if I talk about the read only keyword, so in case of constant, you will have to initialize the const at the declaration. But if I talk about say public read only, say some read only variable equal to 1.1, let me make it as integer. Now if I try to reinitialize this value inside this, say some read only variable, I am not able to find this variable. If I forcibly try to do that, it will be giving the compile term error, because CLR is now not able to find the some read only variable. So only the place where you can reinitialize the read only variable is that in the constructor. Here if I try to find this value, say 1.1, say 200 or 100. So I'm able to do that. Thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to this channel so that next time when I create the video you don't miss it.
What's up techies, this is Akhil, your virtual instructor. If you've not watched my previous video, I will highly encourage you to do that. The question is, do we really need to install the Visual Studio licensed version? Answer is no. You can install Visual Studio Community Edition from this Microsoft official site. You can visit this site. I will include this URL in my description. You can follow these steps. So latest edition of the Visual Studio is 2019. You can download this as well. If you want to download the earlier version, the older version, you can simply click here on the Visual Studio 2017. I can keep downloading. The steps are you just need to click on the download button. It will just install one exe file. So once you click on that exe file, it will ask you whether you want to install the software while downloading or you want to continue downloading it and then install it later. So guys, coming back to the today's interview question. So question is, what are different operators in C#? So there are several operators. One is assignment operator, arithmetic operator, comparison operator, conditional operator, and ternary operator. Talking about assignment operator, whenever you try to assign some value to a variable, that is your assignment operator. An arithmetic operator is whenever you try to do kind of arithmetic operations like plus, minus, multiplication, division, or modulus. So guys, while you would have started learning C, C++, Python, etc. or any other programming language, you would have come across these operators. So I won't be spending much time into this. So as part of the interview question, I just wanted to cover this as well. Coming back to the third operator, which is your comparison operator. So whenever you want to compare two variables, in that case we use comparison operator. So we use double equal to. If I use single equal to, that will be kind of you're assigning something. That will be your assignment operator. Double equal to, not equal to, greater than equal to, less than equal to. So if you can see here, I just try to compare first number with the second number. So if this condition satisfies, so my control will get inside this block. Talking about third operator, which is conditional operator. So conditional operators are used when you want to combine two comparison operators. So if you want to compare or and. So in this scenario, I'm just trying to compare first number with the second number, and first number is a double equal to third number. So I'm using ampersand. So ampersand ensures that I'm trying to compare two comparison operators and both has to return true. So this block should return true and this block as well should return true. Then only my code will come under this block. So this is your conditional operator. So third operator is ternary operator. This is as good as your if else condition. If first condition is true, get into this one, otherwise go to the else block. So here, so this is just this shorthand of your if else block. Here I'm just trying to compare if first number is equal to second number, then return equal or return not equal. So guys, just to summarize, there are 5 different types of operators. So first one is your assignment operator, arithmetic operator, comparison operator, conditional operator, ternary operator. Thanks for watching this video. In the next session, I'll be covering what are different decision making statements. Don't forget to subscribe this channel and don't forget to press the bell icon so that when I create a new video, you get notified. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Code with Akhil. So in my earlier video, I tried to cover what are different types of operators we have in C#. If you have not watched that video, I will highly encourage you to do that. So today's question is, what are different decision making statements? So here the interviewer wants to know whether you are really aware of if else block or the switch case statement. So let's try to see each statement one by one. In case of if block, so this is basically to make the decision based on true or the false value evaluation. Maybe like just Just for the demonstration, I'll just try to put, say, enter your age, and let me capture the age in some variable, int age. So by default, if I try to get some value from the user, it will be string. I will have to cast it to integer. So I will just do console dot readline convert dot to string integer. My bad. And here I'll just check if you can simply type if and then tap. It will just give you the skeleton. If age is less than 0, I will just say invalid age. Enter. So this is just your if block. If you want to give it another else block, say you want to print something like valid age, enter. So this is just your if else block. In case of if else block, you can keep on giving the conditions. So if I want to type something like if age is greater than 0 and age is less than 18. So here in case of if block, I can compare multiple comparison operator. So I can just print valid age but not eligible for vote. Else if, and then I can say if age is greater than 18. So CW is shorthand for console.writeLine, CW tap, and then eligible for vote. So in case of if block, you can write multiple conditions. You can use conditional operator here. You can use greater than value operator in case of if statement. Yes, I would say just the replica of this is if else if condition is switch case. So just the difference between switch case and if condition is that you can evaluate the equal operator in this switch case. You cannot write greater than equal to or less than equal to. Maybe I'll just you can use quick refactoring if you want to wrap it inside a method. This is your say if else block. Let me just comment it out. So talking about the switch case statement. So as we have accepted the age from the user, I can simply wrap it inside the switch case. You can write switch and then tap. It will give you the skeleton, just like the if case condition. I can pass age block here. So here I can write case, I would say 18. As I said, you could just have equality evaluation. You cannot write greater than or equal to. Then I would say you are 18 years old. And then you'll have to use break statement just after this, which states that this condition is completed. Similarly, you can write case, say 60. Congratulations, you are retired from work now. And then you can again write break statement. So if none of the condition is satisfied, then it goes to the default statement. Here you can write no conditions satisfied. So just to summarize, if you have condition wherein you want to compare using greater than equal to or less than equal to other than equality operator, go for if block. Or the scenario wherein you just have the equality operator, go for switch case. So switch case has some constraint as compared to if else condition. I hope you enjoyed this video and got to learn something on this. So see you in the next interview question. Hi techies, what's going on? Welcome to my YouTube channel Code with Akhil. If you have not watched my previous video on the decision making statements, I will highly encourage you to do that. So today I'm back with a new question. What are different looping concepts in C Sharp? So we have for loop, for each loop, while loop and do while loop. Talking about the for loop. So for loop executes a statement or a block of statement repeatedly until a specified expression evaluates to false. That means here you can specify starting point, ending point, and the increment, the number of hop that you want to perform while performing any iteration. Talking about the for each loop. In case of for each loop, you have to specify the collection that you want to iterate. Suppose I have the collection of students. Say 1,000 students are there and I want to iterate all 1,000 students to add some other collection. So I will be using for each statements to iterate against all 1,000 students. So in case of for each loop, we don't have to specify the hop count, the incremental count. So we'll see that in picture in a bit. So flipping to the Visual Studio. So talking about the for loop. So there is shorthand for the for. You can type for and tap, which gives you skeleton how your for loop will look like. As you can see here, we have the for loop skeleton wherein I specifies the initial value, which is 0, and I is less than length. Here you can specify the number of time you want to iterate. Let me just put 100 for example. And this shows that this is your number of incremental number of hop count you want to iterate with. So I'll just print I. Just to hold the screen, I will just use console.read. Let me run the code. You can see here it will iterate from 0 till 99 because you have given the condition as I is less than 100. I want the loop to iterate one after another. So hop count is just 1. So ideally it should print as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. So on up till 99. You can see that. A
So
number of hop that you can specify. If I say I plus equal to 2, that means here in the to the compiler, just I'm trying to say, so it should print 0 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 like that 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and so on. Let's just give a run to this code. As you can see here, we've got the hop count as to 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 and so on. So talking about the for each loop. So this is example of for loop. Talking about the for each loop. Suppose I've got one collection. So list of string. So suppose here I want to just initialize some value. Say Akhil, say Minesh, Dhirendra, Rajveer, Snehal, and any student. Say Muhammad. So if at all I want to print this loop inside the console.writeline, I'll just use for each and then tap. You can see it is giving me one variable. As I know it is a collection of string, so I can specify where as string to be more precise. And I want to iterate this list. I'll just print item. So as soon as I run it, you can see it will iterate all the collection. So in case of for each, you have to specify the collection to what you want to iterate. You don't need to give the hop count like for loop. Let me run this code and we can see it has iterated all over the collection and it printed all the values in the list. So there is very good concept in the looping thing. If I talk about the for loop, so break and the continuous statement. So coming back to this point, so break. Talking about the break, if you put break inside the for loop, as soon as it satisfies the condition, it executes the break statement, your loop will be exited. Let me just put CW and loop completed. I will say if I is double equal to say 10, I just want to break loop. Let's print. So what do you think? What will be the output? Let's see that. So it iterated 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and as soon as it comes to 10, it checks this condition is satisfied, and this break line is executed, and this loop is exited. So talking about the continuous statement will skip the current iteration. I repeat, continuous statement will skip the current iteration. So let me replace break with the continue. So while iteration, as soon as this line will be, this code is satisfied. That means after 8, I equal to 10, then it will the control will come to this code line number 19, which is continue. Then this 10th iteration will be skipped. You can see. Let me go all the way to the top. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. You can see here 10 is skipped. Why? Because as soon as it comes to this condition, it skips the current iteration. So now talking about the while statement. So while is also used for iteration. So syntax goes the way same while tab. Say I is less than say 100. So I will have to specify what is I. So let me make it as integer I equal to 0. I will have to initialize some value, and here I want to print say I, and after printing it I want to increment it I plus plus. So things go same like for loop here. Initialization, condition, tell what you want to iterate, and the increment point. Let me print it. So let me give a build. You can see here. So iteration goes from 0 up till 99. And just we have got another concept in the do while. We have, you can write do while. So let me just print, and then while I is less than 100. So somewhere I will have to increment it. So I plus plus. So here, even though condition is false, this statement will be executed at least once. So but in case of while condition, a while loop, condition is checked first before it prints anything, before it executes any command. In case of do while, it will first execute the statement at least once, then it will check whether the condition is right or not. If condition is right, then it will move to the next iteration. If it is wrong, then it will exit the loop. So watching so thanks for watching this video. In the next video, we will see what are 4 pillars of object-oriented programming. So up till now, if you have not subscribed to this channel, I will highly encourage you to do that. Also share the link with your friends so that this video series will be helpful for them as well. Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Code with Akhil. If you have not watched my previous video that was covered on the looping concept, for loop, for each loop, while loop, do while loop, and difference between the break and continue statement, I will highly encourage you to watch that video. That will be really helpful for you. So moving ahead with the next concept. So question is, what are 4 pillars of the object-oriented programming? So 4 pillars are encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, and inheritance. Talking about the encapsulation part. So encapsulation is the process of binding the data members and member functions into a single unit. So you can have a class. Inside the class, you can simply wrap fates, properties, member functions, indexers, etc. So main intention for the encapsulation is used to prevent the alteration of a code accidentally from the outside of the function. So if you instantiate a class, so when you call the function, the member function or the member variables of the class using the dot operator, at that time you won't be able to call the private fields. So the members which are declared with the private, that will be inaccessible. So we are trying to prevent, so but anyway we cannot touch that variable. So but that way we are preventing, we are hiding, we are encapsulating, I would say rather, to be accessed from the outside. So talking about the abstraction part. So abstraction part is to hide the implementation details and display only essential features of a object. If I give you an example, say any vehicle, be that bike. So at the end you see the bike, but inside the bike there will be number of things, be that engine, be that horn, be that seat belt, be that seat, you know, tires, etc. in hand. So difference between abstraction and encapsulation is that abstraction is used to hide unwanted data and shows only the required properties and the methods to the client. Talking about the encapsulation, so intention of encapsulation is to avoid the unintentional uh, code changes from the outside of the function. So it is used to bind the data members and member functions into a single unit to prevent the outsiders to access it directly. So let's flip to the Visual Studio. For the demonstration purpose, I'll just create the class. So shorthand is CLS tab. It will just give you one class. Say name it student. So you can use shortcut PROP tab. It will give you the auto implemented property. Let's give this name as ID. So talking about the fully implemented property, you can use PROPFULL and then say tab. You can see here this is the private field. And let me just name it as name, and this is string, and this is the student. Just say name. So by default, access modifier of a class is internal, and for the internal member variables or member fields of the class is private by default. So here, if I instantiate student class s equal to new student, now if I use s dot, you can see I'm just able to access the ID, not the this private field name, but I'm able to access the name. So this is the way I'm just trying to make this variable inaccessible outside of the class, so no one can directly touch this name. Maybe like I'm getting the internally inside the property, maybe like I'm manipulating it while returning. I want to simply say string.concat, and I just want to return Mr. Maris, and then so although I have accepted the name, but I'm just prefixing Mr. and Mrs. Likewise, there can be a number of manipulations that you can do inside the get function. So in the next video, I'll be covering some concepts on the inheritance and the polymorphism. So stay tuned, guys. Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Code with Akhil. So this is continuation of the previous video wherein we were discussing about the four pillars of the object-oriented programming. In the previous video, we discussed about what is encapsulation and abstraction. If you have not watched that video, I will highly encourage you to watch that. Talking about the next important pillar in the object-oriented programming is inheritance. Inheritance is the process of inheriting the parent class to the child class with the intention of code reusability. By virtue of inheritance, we can access the members of the parent from the child class. So child class will have its own implementation. Apart from that, it will have the additional already implemented member functions, member variables, which are public into the parent one. So talking about the types of inheritance, there are four types of inheritance in C#. One is single inheritance, another one is hierarchical inheritance, third is multi-level inheritance, and fourth is multiple inheritance. Diagram is self-explanatory. What is single inheritance? So in case of single inheritance, a parent will have single child. In case of hierarchical inheritance, parent can have multiple child classes. In case of multi-level inheritance, parent will have its own new child class, and the new child class in turn will have another child class, and so on. This is multi-level inheritance. And the fourth type of inheritance is multiple inheritance. Class does not support multiple inheritance in case of C#. The reason is that it creates the diamond problem. Let me just give a try to explain what is diamond problem. In this scenario, IT student is a child class which is inherited from two parent class, student and lecturer. So if suppose the parent class Student has one method display and lecturer has another method display. Both the methods have the same signature. When we instantiate the child class and try to call the display method, so it gets confused. There is conflict which method to call, which parent method to call. That is the main reason we cannot achieve multiple inheritance with the help of class. If at all we want to achieve multiple inheritance, we can make use of interface. So what is interface? So if you're not aware about the term interface as of now, please don't worry. We will be covering this in upcoming videos. So flipping to the Visual Studio. So I've got one class student which has got two properties, ID and name. Let me create another class. So here I'm talking about single inheritance. So I've got another class CLS tab and this is IT student. It is inheriting the student. For inheriting the class, we use colon operator. Suppose it has got one method, public void display, and here I just want to call this is child method IT student display. So inside the main class, I've got two classes of now. Student is parent and IT student is child class. Inside the main class, let me instantiate the IT student. I equal to new IT student. As soon as I click I dot, I can see ID and name. So ID and name both are the properties of parent class, which is student. But we do not have ID and name property implemented inside the child class. But still, when I instantiate the child class, I'm able to access the parent public member. Another question is asked in the interview is that how do you call parent method from the child class method? So in this scenario, this is my child class. It has got one method display. Suppose inside the parent class, I've got one method public void get admission. This is parent class for admission. So if at all I want to call this function from my child method, I will just use base operator. Base dot, you can see I'm able to call the get admission, and this get admission is present inside the parent one. This is the way we call parent method from the child method. Talking about the next inheritance, which is hierarchical inheritance. As we saw just now, IT student is child class of the parent class which is student. Let me create another class CLS tab, say hardware student. Public void get admission for hardware CCNA, for example. Taken for CCNA. So this is the class which is also inheriting from the parent class student. So in this scenario, we can see student class have two child. Likewise, we can have its siblings. So such scenarios are called as hierarchical inheritance. Talking about third type of inheritance, which is multi-level. In case of multi-level students, parent class has one child class, and child class again in further implementation it acts like a parent one. You can see here parent class, it has child class as IT student, and IT student is playing a role of parent class of hardware student. So this is multi-level inheritance. Class does not support multiple inheritance because of a diamond problem. Another interview question asked with respect to inheritance is, in case of inheritance, what is the sequence of constructor that gets called? So before that, what is constructor? So constructor is the special method whose name is same as that of the class name, and the purpose is to initialize the member variables. For example, in case of student. So shorthand for the constructor is CTOR tap tap. It will create the constructor. As you can see, constructor is a function whose name is same as that of the class name. So here I can initialize some value, say id equal to 1001 and name equal to Akhil. So when I instantiate name, so when I instantiate this class student, s equal to new student, and when I say s dot get admission, here let me just try to print the value id plus this is 0 and name first and id and name. So as soon as I call this function get admission as dot get admission, although we have not initialized id and name from the client, but still as soon as I initialize, as soon as I create the instance of the student class, internally it will call the default constructor, and default constructor in turn will initialize the member variable, member properties. Let me just give a run to this code. F5. So my debug point is hit. In order to get into this student a constructor, I will use F11, or here also you can see this is your F10 to step over and F11 to step into. I want to step into F11. You can see it is getting inside the constructor and initializing the member properties. And as soon as you call this function, let me step into F11. Here you can see ID is 1001 and name is Mr. Mrs. Akhil. How to restrict any class to inherit further? So this is very common interview question. So here I've got this class hardware student. I don't want hardware student to be treated as parent going further. I'll just make it as sealed. So when I create in the class, and I would say my student, and let me try to inherit from the hardware student. You can see it is giving me the error. My student cannot derive from sealed type hardware student. As we have declared this class as sealed, we cannot inherit my student from the sealed class. Next question is, can a static class be inherited? So answer is no. Static class cannot be inherited. So static class cannot be parent or it cannot be child. Let's see that. Suppose I've got this class. So let me get rid of these classes that we have used for the demonstration. Let me make this class as static. As this is static class, so we will be covering the static keyword in upcoming videos in greater details. Let me just, as this is the static class, all the members in the static class should be static. Yeah. So let me just create another class, CLS tap tap, so my class, and let's try to derive it from student. See, I'm getting the compile time error. My class cannot derive from static class. Talking about the next scenario, let me create a class which is already by default say student, say IT student, and let me make this class to inherit from IT student. Still you will get this compile time error. Static class student cannot derive from IT student. Static classes must derive from object. So you cannot derive static class from any class. So it cannot be parent or it cannot be child. So guys, in this video we try to understand what is inheritance, which is the most important pillar of object-oriented programming. So in the next video, we will try to understand what is polymorphism. Again, polymorphism is very important in case of object-oriented programming. So stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome to the C# interview question series. In the previous video, we saw what are different types of inheritance. Why do we need inheritance? And some interview related questions with respect to inheritance. If you have not watched that video, I will highly encourage you to do that. Talking about the next pillar in the object-oriented programming, that is polymorphism. So polymorphism is a Greek word whose meaning is one name and many forms. So which gives you a provision in the C# to write a method with the same name that will function differently. You're talking about the types of polymorphism. There are two types of polymorphism: static polymorphism and method overloading, and dynamic polymorphism, also known as method overriding. So what are different benefits of polymorphism? First benefit is code reusability. That is, classes once written, tested and implemented can be reused as required. Also, it saves you time in rewriting the code, that is easy to debug. Also, single variable can be used to store multiple data types. So let's flip to the Visual Studio. So for demonstration, let me create a class cls tab. Let me give the name as student. Let me write a method public void get admission cw get all admission. Let me write another function with the same name. Let me copy and paste it. So I'm talking about the method overloading. So in case of method overloading, your method name can be same, but it must vary with the number or the type of parameters. So let me write int, say student id, get admission for student. Get admission based on student id. So when I instantiate this class in the main method student s equal to new student, when I call the method s dot get admission, as soon as I open the braces, you can see here it gives me two method name. Either you want to call this method or you can call second method which is taking one parameter. So this is method overloading. At the compile time itself, you can determine what method to call. Hence it is called as method overloading and the compile time polymorphism. Let me give you a run to this application. And here we go. As we call the first method get admission, it is calling the all admission. If I call another method s dot get admission and say 100, now if I call get all admission and get admission based on student id, overloading deals with the same class. Only one thing to keep in your mind is that the method name should vary with the number or the type of parameter and the return type. Now talking about the method overriding. So method overriding is also called as runtime polymorphism. In case of method overriding, so let me just create a method public virtual void so get all admission and cw this is parent class method, and let me simply inherit another class, say it student. As I'm stating virtual keyword here, which tells the CLR that this method should be redefined by the child class. So you can use override keyword and press space, and here you can see what all method you can override. Simply press tab. So by this way it will give you the skeleton of your the method that you can override. So let me just write a method inside the child class. This is child class method Let's instantiate the class at the client level. So at the client level, when you initialize student s equal to new student, this is the place where interviewer tweak the question. Interviewer can ask you s dot get all admission. What will be the output? Student s1 equal to new IT student. As this is the parent class, you can initialize the child class and reference it to the parent one. S1 dot get all admissions. What will be the out in this scenario? And what about IT student I equal to new IT student? I dot get all admission. As we have overridden this method, so always when you create instance of child class, only the child class method will be called. So in this scenario, student s equal to new student. So let's see the output. So let's give a run to the client. You can see here output goes like this. In case of student s equal to new student, it is calling the parent method. For rest other two instance where you have initialized the child class and assigned it to the parent one, and in third scenario where you have initialized the child class, in both the scenarios it is calling the child method. So this is method overriding. So if I just remove this override keyword and use new keyword, so this will be termed as method hiding. If I give you the same scenario now, what will be the output? When you use new, that is method hiding, student s equal to new student, it will be called in the parent method. Even in the second scenario where you have initialized a child class, it will still call the parent method. But only the child class IT student I equal to new IT student, only in this scenario it will be calling the child method. So always keep in your mind what will be the output in terms of in case of method overriding and in case of method hiding. So this is about the polymorphism, guys. So just to summarize, the different pillars of object-oriented programming are encapsulation, inheritance, abstraction, and polymorphism. So I will highly recommend you to watch all these four video series in order to understand object-oriented programming pillars.
Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Code with Akhil. In this video, I'll be talking about interface and abstract class. What is interface? An interface in the C# is a type definition similar to a class, except that it has only method declaration termed as contract. If so, then what is the benefit of interface? As of now, just make a note that it is the responsibility of a child class which is inheriting the interface to implement the method definition. So talking about the benefits of interface. So without bothering about implementation part, we can achieve the security of implementation. Second advantage is that in C#, multiple inheritance is not allowed in case of class. However, you can achieve interface to make use of it, as you can implement more than one interfaces. Third advantage is that it can be used to achieve the total abstraction. Talking about the ways of interface implementation, there are two ways by which you can implement the interface in the child class. First is implicit way of implementation, and second is explicit way of implementation. Let's flip to Visual Studio. So for demonstration, let's create one interface. Interface tab, say as student. You can use I as a convention. It's a good practice before the interface name. As I said before, interface is incomplete without the class. So let's implement a class which will implement the I student interface. As soon as I do the mouse over on this interface, you can see it is giving me these two options. One is to implement the interface implicitly, and second is to implement interface explicitly. Let's implement interface implicitly. So this is the way. It gives you skeleton same as that of the method you have declared inside the interface. So CW tab, and this is student method display. So when I go to client, which is my console application, let me instantiate this class student as equal to new student. when you do s dot, you can see display method is getting called. If it is run the application, here we go, you can see the method. This is student method display. So question is, how does interface solve multiple inheritance? In our earlier video in the inheritance we saw C# does not support multiple inheritance in case of class. So let's create another interface, say IIT student, and let's make this class to implement this interface as well. Now if I do the mouse over on this interface and implement the interface explicitly, so as you can see, the method skeleton has interface name dot method name, which states that this display method belongs to iStudent interface, and in this case this display method belongs to IIT student interface. So how do we instantiate it? I equal to new student. You can instantiate student class, but you can assign it to the interface. Now if I use I dot display, this will be calling the method of IIT student, and for iStudent, I1 equal to new student, I1 dot display. This method will be calling the iStudent interface method. Let's click on this and say F12. You can see it is pointing to the IIT student interface. In this scenario, F12, it is pointing to iStudent. So this is the way, with the help of interface, we can achieve multiple inheritance. An abstract class is a type definition similar to interface, but it has some differences. So abstract class can have concrete method, that is method with definition, unlike interface. And also abstract class cannot be instantiated, but abstract class has constructor and abstract class can be subclassed. Let's flip to Visual Studio. For demonstration, let's create one abstract class. Let's tab. Let me just make as abstract keyword here, so as to ensure that this is abstract class. So let's make this class as student. Let's have a concrete method, that is method with definition. This is concrete method in student abstract class. If I give a build, it will not throw any error. So abstract class can have concrete method. If I use public void struct registration, so if I use abstract keyword, that will tell to CLR that this method must be overridden by the child class student. Let me create another class IT student, which is inheriting from the student. If you implement the child class to an abstract class, and if you do the mouse over this child class, you can see to implement the abstract class, so it overrides the method which is declared as abstract, not the display method. So let's give a definition to this method. Let's say this method is registration, is for registration. So how to call this method? If I instantiate child class in the client, if I do I dot, you can see I can see the display method, I can see the registration method. I can call both the method I dot registration. Let's run the client. You can see this is concrete method in the student abstract class, and this method is for registration. Both the method, the concrete method and the method which is overridden in the child class, both method has been called. So talking about another question in abstract class, can abstract class have constructor? Let's do that. Yes, we can have the constructor. Let me give you build. You can see build succeeded. So if abstract class has a constructor, then can we instantiate the abstract class? Let's give it a try. Let me build it. You can see cannot create an instance of abstract class or interface student. So we cannot instantiate abstract class or interface. So I have just started few points about the differences between the interface and abstract class. Interface supports multiple inheritance, but abstract class does not support multiple inheritance. Interface cannot have concrete method, but abstract class can have concrete method. Abstract class cannot have method access modifiers, but abstract class can have access modifier for the members. Interface is comparatively slow, but abstract class is comparatively faster. So in interface, you cannot have fields or the constants, but in the abstract class, we can have fields and constants. So guys, in this video, we learned what is interface, what the benefits of interface, what are different ways by which you can implement interface, and what is abstract class. Can abstract class have constructor? If so, can we instantiate the abstract class or interface? All these questions that we try to cover in this video. Thanks for watching this video. If you have come here for the first time, I will highly recommend you to subscribe to this channel. Also share this link with your friends so that they can take advantage of this free online YouTube tutorial. So in upcoming videos, we'll learn some more advanced concepts about the C#. So stay tuned.
Hi guys, welcome to the C# interview question and answer series. In this video, I will be talking about the static keyword in C#. We use static keyword in order to make variable class or functions of type static. Static keyword can be used with any function, variables or any member type in the class. Static keyword when used, it ensures that only one instance of that particular type is created. Talking about the static variable, where we make the variable static, that ensures that single copy of that variable is created and the same copy is shared among all the objects at the class level. Talking about the static class, a static class is created using the static keyword in C#. A C# static class is a class that cannot be instantiated. Static class can contain static members only. Any class can have static constructor, which is called automatically only once, while the first instantiation of a class. Static members should be called with the dot operator. Means suppose a static class has a function, static function. In order to call that function, you should be using class name dot method name. Static variables can be initialized outside the class. So let's flip to Visual Studio. Inside the student class, let's create one variable, static variable rather. Let's create another function, public static void display. This is student display method. Let's create another non-static method. Public void registration. Yes, normal class can have static members. This is registration method of student class. So when I instantiate this student class inside the main function, student as equal to new student, and when I use dot operator to call a function, you can see I'm able to call only registration because registration is non-static method. That means this is instance method. So if at all I want to call static members with the display function or the first name, I won't be able to call with the instance members. In order to call it, I will have to make use of student class name dot, you can see I'm able to call first name, also student dot, I can call display method as well. So talking about the static class, if I make this class student class as static, it will start throwing the error. Compile time error is thrown because static class can have only static
members. So I will have to make it as public static void registration. See, error has gone again. So next question is, can this static class be parent? So let's try to create another class. CLS tab, say my student, and let's try to inherit from the student class, which is static. So when I try to inherit any class from this static class, it throws the error, compile time error. Why? Error says that my student class cannot derive from the static class. So static class cannot be parent. So question is, can static class be child? So let's create another class, my class. So let's try to inherit this student class from my class. See, again it is throwing the compile time error. Static class student cannot derive from type my class because static classes must be derived from the object. Talking about the static constructor, suppose I have got one class, same class, a student. Let's make it non-static. So let's create one constructor, ctr tab. Let's call this method name. Actually, this is student class constructor, new object created. And let's create another constructor, static. This is static constructor. If I instantiate this student class s1 equal to new student, so let's instantiate it twice. And let's give a run to this application. So here we go. You can see here this one static student has been called only once and the normal constructor has been called twice. So this constructor will be called every time when you create new instance. So which concludes that static constructor gets called automatically only once when you instantiate your class. So just to summarize, static class cannot be instantiated. Static class can have only static members. We cannot call static constructor explicitly. In order to call static members, use dot operator. And static variables can be initialized outside the member function or the class definition. So guys, I'm trying to make video as simple and short as possible with lots of information. In upcoming videos, we'll see some more advanced concepts in C#. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the partial keyword in C#. Using the partial keyword, we can split class into multiple files. We can split an interface, struct, or a class. For CLR, it's just a single class, but for us, these are two different files, so that multiple developers can work on these files simultaneously. As you can see in this example, we've got person class. Maybe one UI developer will be working on this partial class and the backend developer will be working on another partial class for writing the logic. But for CLR, at the end, it is going to be the same class. We can have partial method inside the partial class. That is, we can declare a method at one place and we can define that method at different place in the same partial class. Make a note that when you use sealed property, entire class becomes sealed. If you use abstract property, then entire class will become abstract. At the same time, name of the partial class at both the files must be same. Flipping to Visual Studio, in interest of time, I just created one WinForm. If you see the WinForm, we have got two files, form1.cs and form1.designer.cs. This is the place where UI developer can design the UI and at the same time the backend developer can write the logic. Let us create another partial class in our application. Let's go to console application. Let me create one partial method, partial void registration, and I will be defining this method at different file. As partial method is private by default, we cannot call this method outside this class. So let's create one public method. Inside this method, I can call this registration. So when I instantiate this student class at the client as.display, when I call this method as.display, this method in turn will call registration. Important things to note about the partial method is that partial method must return void. A partial method declaration must begin with the partial keyword. Such methods can have ref but cannot have out parameter. Such methods are implicitly private, therefore they cannot be virtual. Method cannot be external because presence of body determines whether they are defining or implementing. Partial method can have static and unsafe modifiers. Partial methods can be generic. Hello, welcome to my C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the extension method. I have tried to cover some interesting concepts in C# in previous videos, like what are 4 pillars of object-oriented programming, like inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and encapsulation in depth. What are difference between var, dynamic, read-only, const keyword, what is static keyword, and its depth implementation. If you have not watched those videos, I will highly encourage you to do that. Talking about the extension method enables us to add methods to an existing types without deriving a new type or recompiling or modifying the original types. 3 points to keep in your mind while implementing the extension method are as follows. You should have the static class. Inside the static class, you can have static method. In that method, this keyword should be the first parameter. The interesting thing about the extension method is that it is shown by the Visual Studio IntelliSense. As in the figure, you can see that student class has one extension method pay fee. Pay fee comes with the box with a down arrow, which shows that pay fee is extension method. Flipping to Visual Studio, as you can see, we have got one student class. Say this class has some method, public void inquiry. Say it has got another method registration, and as soon as we instantiate this class in the client, that is our console application, as dot, you can see it gives you two method inquiry. Ignore the typo mistake here, as dot inquiry, and we can see as dot registration. So I want to add another method in the student class without changing the student class. So one way is that I can simply inherit, say, IT student, and I can implement this class here. Any method, public void pay fee, and but I don't want to inherit this class. So what is another way to extend the feature of the student class? For that, I will just create one class. Let me give name as util. This class will be public static. As this is static class, it should have static method. All the members should be static. And here maybe I will be communicating with the database to perform any business logic. In this static method, this should be the first parameter, and I want to extend student class. Now if I go to client and I say s dot, you can see I have got another method pay fee with down arrow. This down arrow indicates that pay fee is an extension method.
In next video, I will be talking about another interesting interview question. What is difference between is and as keyword? Thanks for watching this video. I will really appreciate if you can share this video with your friends so that they will also understand some concepts in C# and get knowledge out of it. Welcome to my C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the is and as keyword. This keyword is very simple and easy to understand, however, have been ignored by most of the new developers. C# provides two more very useful operators that can help us to perform casting and check object compatibility in much more elegant manner by using the is and as operators. The difference between is and as is that is operator is used to check the compatibility of an object with a given type and it returns result as boolean true or false. As operator is used for casting of an object in a given class or type. The advantage of as over is operator is two-step process. That is, first it checks if the type is compatible or not. If it is compatible, then only do the casting. This affects the performance since each and every time CLR will go through the inheritance in hierarchy, checking each time its type against the specified type. To avoid this, use as keyword. Only use is keyword only if you want to just compare the type. Flipping to Visual Studio. As you know, any data type in C# is derived from system.object. That means I can assign some value to object. And I'll just check if O is string. If O is of type string, then assign it to a variable name and cast it. And here I can simply print my name is name. As you can see here at line 14. As you can see at line 14, I'm just trying to compare object O is of type string or not. If it is of type string, then I'm casting it to the string variable. But these two steps can be written in one go, like this. Let me use name1. This is casting using as name1. Let me put the debug point here and run the application. You can see it returned true. If I simply select this and say right click, quick watch, you can see it is returning true. Since it is returning true, I can get into this method and I can cast object to string name. But here you can see this is just one step process. So maybe let me just change the value of O. Currently it is string. Let me change it to integer variable, integer value. Now if I simply select this guy, quick watch, you can see it is returning false. But now when I try to cast it using as operator, quick watch, it is returning null because in this scenario it is not able to cast object to string, hence it is returning null. So just to summarize, the advantage of as over is that is operator is a two-step process. In case of is operator, you need to check the type first. If type is compatible, then only you can typecast. Whereas in case of as operator, you can simply typecast. It's a one-step process. Thanks for watching this video. In the next video, we will be talking about the next interesting question, that is difference between string and string builder. Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the difference between string and string builder. In my previous video, I tried to cover some simple concepts in C#, like difference between is and as, what is difference between where, dynamic, read-only and const. If you have not watched those videos, I will highly encourage you to do that. Talking about the string and string builder, objects of string are immutable and objects of string builders are mutable. So question here arises, so what is immutable or mutable? Immutable means once you create the instance of an object, you cannot modify it later. It always creates a new instance of the type. In case of string, it will be creating a new object type string. Talking about the string builder is mutable. Due to its mutable nature, it's faster than the string. Let's see that in picture. Flipping to Visual Studio, let me create one variable. So let me assign some value to it, and I'll just try to conquer this value with some string value. Hello, and name plus equal to how are you. So when I print it, I'll get output as Akhil, hello, how are you. So let's try to achieve same thing with the help of string builder. If you click on string builder and say go to definition, or you can press F12, you can see that string builder class belongs to system.text namespace. So let me instantiate it, and let me append value as Akhil and sp.append hello and sp.append how are you. So let me print it again to UI. So printing it to UI, I will have to convert it to convert.toString. So just to hold screen, I will use console.read. So in both the scenarios, although I'm getting the output as same, Akhil, hello, how are you? In case of first scenario where I'm trying to concat the value. So in case of string, when I'm trying to concat the value, Akhil, hello, how are you? Internally, it is creating three instances. Whereas in case of string builder, although I'm trying to append value, Akhil, hello, how are you? So internally, it is going to concat this value to same instance. So internally, it is going to concat this value to same instance. As we are dealing with the same instance, it will perform better than string. Let's run the application. And here we go. We see the same output. Thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day. Welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the params keyword in C#. In earlier videos, I tried to cover some simple concept in C#, like what is difference between is versus as, what is difference between string versus string builder. If you have not watched those videos, I will highly encourage you to do that. Talking about the params keyword. So question here is, what if you are not sure the number of parameters that will be passed to a function? How will you write a generic function like that? So answer is params keyword. In C#, params work as an array of an object. Make a note that params must be the last parameter in a function. Flipping to Visual Studio. Suppose a scenario, I have one function, calculate, and this function is taking 3 parameters. You can use this button here to generate the method skeleton. Let me return type as int, and maybe I would say this is returning v1.v2.v3. What if you need a function which will be taking 4 parameters to calculate? You will have to write another function that will be the overload of this function. So you can see it created another function
and here maybe you will be interested in writing the code which will be manipulating all these 4 variables. Now what if I write a function which will be taking all the number of parameters that you pass from a function, basically an array of integer? I will just make use of this existing function, and instead of using this 4 parameters, I will be using params int of array, say params, and I'll just use 0, and for each I will use for each over here, for each for each tab and int and params. So params is a keyword, params1, I'll just use result plus equal to item, and at the end I will be returning the result. So if I remove this function, so if I click on this and say F12, it is going to come here. So let's print it, cw12 cw tab, and let's print this as well. Let's run the UI. Here we go. We can see output as 69 and 114. As I said, params should be the last parameter. So let's try to add another parameter at the end. Say string, name something. And let's see what does compiler say. It says that params parameter must be the last parameter in a formal parameter list. So make a note that param should be the last parameter in a function. Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the recursion. In my earlier video, I have tried some important concept. What is difference between string and string builder? What is Params keyword in C#? Talking about the recursion, the main funda behind the recursion method is solving a problem based on divide and conquer mentality. Recursion is nothing but a method calling to itself. Let us see it in practice. So let me capture some value from user, enter any number, and let me grab it inside one num variable. Console.readLine. So this will be of type string. I will have to cast it to integer. I'll just use convert dot to integer and say get factorial of number, and let me pass num into this, and let me get the method skeleton, or you can press Alt Shift F10. So this gives you method skeleton. I want to make a return type as int, and here I'll just use if num is equal to 0, then return 1, because factorial of 0 is 1. And here finally I want to return num get factorial num minus 1. So let me print this, console.writeLine, and let me run the application. So 4, and here we get output as 24. So that is 4 into 3, 12, 12 into 2 is 24. In next video, I will be covering another interesting concept in C#, that is passing a parameter using val operator, ref or out. Thanks for watching this video. Have a good day.
Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about ref, out and val keyword used. The ref and out keyword in C# is used for passing argument to a method as a reference type. It means that
any changes made to the argument in the method will be reflected in that variable when controls come back to the calling method. These keywords are generally used when a method returns multiple values. Make a note that by default, parameters are passed as a val type. In order to pass reference type or out type parameter, you have to explicitly specify ref and out keyword in the function. Both ref and out are treated differently at the runtime, but these are treated same as the compile time. Let's see that in picture. Flipping to variable int first number equal to 100, and let me create another variable and let me initialize it to 100, and let's pass these two parameters, get modified values. Let's pass these two parameters to this function, first number and second number. So while passing the parameter to second type, let me pass it as ref. And if I have not specified any type to the first argument, it will be treated as val type. Let's get the method skeleton. And in the function, let's change the value to 200 and second number equal to 200. And let's try to print this value in the main function, which is first number and this is second number. Let's run the application, and here we go. You can see the output. The first output is 100. That means the parameter what I had passed using the val, it didn't change in the main method, whereas the second parameter which I had passed using ref, its value got changed as we had modified into the called method. Same I can use third variable, third number equal to 100, and let me pass this using out third number, and here it will be out int third number, and let me try to modify this variable to 300, and let me try to print it in the main function, so it comes as third number. Let's run the application, and here we see the output. In the first scenario, the parameter was passed as a val, it didn't change the value. In case of second parameter, where I had passed variable using the ref, its value got changed. In the third parameter, its value got changed. So question here is, what is difference between ref and out keyword? Although these two are working same. So only difference is that in case of ref parameter, you have to initialize your variable before it is passed to a function, whereas in case of out parameter, this variable must be initialized inside the call method. In second scenario, most of the frequently asked question is, what if I instantiate a class and pass class as a parameter? If property of that object is changed inside the called method, will it reflect back in the called method? Answer is yes. So let me create a class student, and let's say it has got one property id, and let me instantiate this class student as equal to new student, and s dot id equal to 100, and let me pass this object as a parameter, get value s. Alt shift F10, and I get the method skeleton, and let me try to change its value here. Let's make it 10,000, and let me try to print this value in the main function s.id. Let's see what is output. As you can see, output comes as 10,000 because when you passed this object as a parameter, it got passed as a reference memory address. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the enumeration. An enumeration, also termed as enum, is a set of named integer constant. An enumerator type is declared using the enum keyword. For declaring the enum, type enum and then tab. It will give you the skeleton for the enum. So let me name it as days, say Sunday, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday. Let me try to print it. In order to print it, use enum name dot say Wednesday. So this will give you the value as Wednesday. If at all you want to type the value, I want to assign the Wednesday value as 101. If at all I want to get the value of this Wednesday, I will have to typecast it days dot Wednesday. Here I will have to typecast it to integer. Let's run our application. And here we go. We can see in the first case I just got the value enum name Wednesday. In the second line I just tried to cast it to integer and I'm getting value as 101. So let me print the value for Sunday. What is the value for the Sunday? CW tab, shorthand for console.writeLine, days dot Sunday. So this value is, so let me put it before and let me print the value for enum which is appearing after Wednesday. So let me put Thursday, days dot Thursday. Let me just try to print its value. Let me run the application and here we go. As you can see here, the output part, Wednesday is a text, Sunday is 0, so enum values always start from 0, and Wednesday is 101. Let me scroll down. So it automatically incremented the value from preceding enum value, which is Wednesday. So I'm getting output as 102. So question here is, can I assign any type other than integer? So let me make it as 1.1. The compiler will start throwing the error. It will state that cannot implicitly convert type double to integer. If at all I want to type its value to string, okay, again compiler will throw the error cannot implicitly convert type string to integer. So enum is meant to assign the integer value to it. You cannot assign other data type than integer. So we can call it as named integer constant. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the yield keyword in C#. In the previous video, I tried to explain what is enum and how do we use that. If you have not watched that video, I will highly encourage you to do that. In this video, I will be talking about the yield keyword in C#. Yield keyword helps to provide custom iteration without creating temp collection. It is really very helpful for doing the stateful iteration. Let's see that practically. Well, let me try to iterate a function which is returning a collection of even number. For each tab, this is integer and this is get even numbers. Let me pass parameter as 100. You can use this icon to create a method skeleton which will be giving it the collection of enumerable of integers. So let me iterate this using the for loop, and v is the limit. Inside this loop, I just try to check if I is divisible by 2. So to ensure that this is the even number, and I will use yield return I, and inside this main function where I'm just iterating the get even numbers as collection, I will just print this number item. So let me just build it and run the application. You can see it is giving the value even numbers from 0 to 100. Let me run the application. You can see it called the get even numbers, and here it is iterating the entire collection, and it is returning the value to the client, which is printing first even number, which is 0, and then second even number, which is 2, 4, 6, so forth. The main advantage of yield keyword is that it returns the value from this loop, it prints the value, and it comes back to the loop, and it starts with the current iteration. Thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day. Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the exception handling in C#. What is exception? Exception is unintentional error occurred while application is running by the user. For example, an attempt to read a file that does not exist, or trying to read a database table that does not exist. What is the advantage of exception handling? Exception handling helps to assess system health. Showing unhandled exception to the user is not recommended. That may lead to security loopholes, and hackers will be able to see entire structures information, and that may lead to application hacking. At the same time, genuine user might not understand the exception messages, and that may look little irritating. There are 3 blocks of exceptions: try block, catch block, and finally block. Try block is the place where you write your business logic. If at all an exception occurs in this block, that will be handled in the catch block. In the finally block, you write the code to release the memory resources. So next question is, can we have only try block? Answer is no. We cannot have only try block. There must be at least catch block or finally block or both. We can know that an exception in C# inherits from the system.exception. Next question in the queue is, can we have multiple catch block? Yes, we can have multiple catch block, but at a time only one exception block will be executed. Next question is, what is difference between throw and throw ex? Throw preserves stack trace information, whereas throw ex replaces the stack trace and just gives current stack trace information. It is recommended to use throw instead of throw ex because throw will be giving you accurate stack trace information so that you can debug the code to find the exception root cause. Flipping to Visual Studio, this is our console application. In the interest of time, I just created one text file. In the text file, I've just written, "Hi guys, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series, #code with Akhil." I want to read this file from my console application. So I'll make it a stream reader. SR equal to new stream reader, and I'll just give the path. Let me open this file and open its path. Right click, open containing folder, and I'll just copy this path. I'll just use @. If I don't use @, you can see compiler started throwing the error unrecognized escape sequence. Now I will just try to read this file. sr.read to end, and let me print this. For printing this, I'll use CW tap, shorthand for print, shorthand for console.writeline, and at the end I'll just close this stream reader. If I talk about the stream reader, you can right click on it and go to definition. It inherits from text reader, again go to definition. At the end, it is inheriting from iDisposable interface. What is disposable interface and when do we use using keyword in our code, that I will cover in upcoming videos. Now let me just run the application. This is straightforward code and I am able to get my output. Let me wrap this line of codes in try catch block. For implementing the try catch block, you can use try and then tap. You can see it will give you the skeleton for try catch and finally block. I'll just cut this code and paste it here. And this is the finally block. Now let me rename this file. Ideally it should throw some exception. Let me put the debug point here. Let me run the application. F10. You can see an exception has been thrown. Stack trace is something which gives you the information from where the exception has occurred. You can see exception has occurred from the line number 16 in program.cs file, so that we can debug the code to find the root cause. Irrespective of any exception occurs or not, finally block will be executed always. So let me write code here. Operation completed. Inside the catch block, I'll just handle the exception. File does not exist. Let's run the application. You can see exception will occur at this point because file does not exist, and we handle the exception and it comes to the finally states block. That even if exception occurs or not, the finally block will be executed. As you know, hello1 file does not exist. If I run this application, I'll be getting the exception. So let me write another catch block. File not found exception fx, and insert this. And the catch block, some generic exception occurred. An exception in C# inherits from the exception. It inherits from system.exception. It inherits from system.exception. Now in this scenario, file not found exception block will be executed. If some other exception occurs which is not handled, it will come under this block. Let's run the application. You can see this is more precise exception block, hence it got executed, and finally block is executed at the end. Thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day. Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the generics. Before we move ahead to the generics, let's try to understand what is boxing and unboxing. Talking about the boxing, the process of converting value type to reference type is called boxing, and opposite of this is called unboxing. As you know, any type in C# derived from system.object. Let me declare one variable int a equal to 100, and let me try to assign this to reference type, be that object O equal to, I'll just assign A to O. This is the process of converting value type to reference type. So this is called as boxing. Talking about the unboxing one, if at all I have one variable which is say object O1 equal to 100, and I want to convert it to integer, some number, and I want to cast it to integer like this and O1. So here in this scenario, I'm just trying to convert this object type to integer. So this is called as unboxing. So boxing is converting from val type to reference type, and unboxing is converting ref type to val type. So talking about the generics, Generic is the way by which you can develop your code independent of data types. We can define generic classes, interfaces, abstract class, fields, properties, events, delegates, etc. Any class in generics are available in system.collections.generic namespace. The main advantage of generic is that you can write a code which is independent of data type. At the same time, it will be giving you type safety and better performance. You can define constants while you declare any classes. .NET Framework provides both non-generic and generic collections. Hash table is non-generic collection. Its corresponding generic collection is dictionary, which gives you key value pair. Array list is non-generic and it gives you generic list type as generic collection. Similarly, stack and queue has its corresponding generic collection. Before we move ahead with the generic collection, let me just try to explain you what are limitations in the array. Suppose I have that one array of integer which is numbers. Let me simply assign some value. Numbers 0. At 0th position we have got 100, and at the first position we have say 200. If at all I want to include any new number, say third one equal to 10,000, if I build it I will not get any error. But if I run it, as in the main collection we have stated the max limit size is 2, but we are trying to insert third value as well. It should be giving us index out of range exception. So this is the limitation of an integer. So instead of this I can simply use array list, and in array list a equal to new array list. Let's add 100 as it is allowing object type to be added to the collection. Let me add another value as string. So if at all I want to iterate this collection, so for each item in A, so in this scenario, every time while iteration, it will be doing boxing and unboxing, which is kind of overhead to the compiler and performance is impacted. So instead of this, C# provides you generic collection. We can use list of string L equal to new list of string. And now if I want to add L.add, see it is asking us to provide string value only. If I specify integer value here in the collection, so in the value it will ask me to provide integer value only. And this is how we achieve type safety dynamically. As we were talking about the constraint in generics, so let me just have one class, say student, and inside this class I just want to have multiple properties, ID and string as name, and I want to have one generic class which is my class, and I'll just specify this placeholder. You can put any name, Akhil, your name, my name, anyone. I just standard, I'm just putting T, and I want to specify constraint here where T derives from student class. Suppose I have got another class, CLS, and this is my ID, and this class is independent one. It is not inheriting the student class. When I create instance of this class, so my class, and here I'm specifying ID and I equal to new ID. See, compiler started throwing the error. So error says that advanced C#, this is the project name, cannot be used type parameter T in the generic type. So as we have specified here in the custom class, the T, the type should derive from student. If I derive it from student, now you can see our error is gone. So this is the way you can specify constraints when you define your custom generic class. In the next video, I will be talking about difference between hash table and dictionary. Thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day.
Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the difference between hash table and dictionary. This is continuation of previous video that was on generics. If you have not watched that video, I will highly encourage you to do that. In one liner, if I talk about the difference between hash table and dictionary is that hash table is non-generic and dictionary is generic. Let's create one hash table. Hash table. It belongs to, you can click here and press F12. You can see it belongs to system.collections namespace. Let me instantiate it. HS equal to new hash table and HS dot and here you can specify key as object and value as object. So I can specify key as name and value as Akhil. I can specify any type, say 1 as key and say Nikhil as value. So hash table is loosely typed. So herein you cannot specify exact what type you want to have in key and what type you want to have in value. If at all I want to iterate it, I can iterate it using for each and item in HS dot. You can use keys or you can use values. So you can use values to iterate it. I'll just do a console.writeLine to print the value. And here we go. Let me run the application. Here we go. We can see the output as Nikhil and Akhil. So in this case, every time when I'm iterating, there will be boxing and unboxing. Hence, performance is tempered.
So talking about dictionary, dictionary is generic type. Any class or collection after which if you use angular bracket that is termed as generic. In this case, I will be using string as key and string as value. So let me instantiate it.
T equal to new dictionary. So when I add some value, d dot add, I will have to specify key as string, say name, and value as Akhil. Again d dot add. If I try to include key as integer and string value as Nikhil, it will start through the compile time error. Here you can see the error cannot convert from int to string, which states that dictionary is strongly typed. Let me add one more value, key as address and Mumbai. So important part to focus here is that while iteration you will be using key value pair. So key value pair, string as key and string as value. I will use string, comma, string. Item in collection D. Let me just try to print the key and value. CW tab tab, and I will print key name 0. So this is the placeholder and value placeholder, and here I'll just print its corresponding value as item dot key and item dot value. So this is strongly typed, so unboxing will not happen. Hence this is faster than hash table. Let me run the application and you can see here is output. This is my key and this is my value.
So here is the difference between dictionary and hash table. Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the delegates. In my previous video, I've talked about the generics and difference between hash table and dictionary. If you have not watched that video, I will highly encourage you to do that. Talking about the delegate, delegate is a type safe function pointer. That is, delegate holds pointer to a function. Make a note that signature of delegate must match that of a function, otherwise you'll be getting compile term error. There are two types of delegates, single delegate and multicast delegate. As its name suggests, if I subscribe single function to the delegate, it will be termed as single delegate. If I subscribe multiple functions to the delegate, that will be termed as multicast delegate. Make a note that if delegate is multicast and return type is other than void, in that case only the value of last invoked method will be preserved. Delegate name dot get invocation list. This function gives you list of delegate array, and this delegate array can be iterated and methods can be called independently. Next question in the queue is, where do you use multicast delegate? This is one of the frequently asked interview question to experienced candidates. So answer is, we use multicast delegate in case of observer design pattern, that is also termed as publisher subscriber design pattern. If you're not aware about the term publisher and subscriber design pattern or the observer design pattern, don't worry. We are going to discuss this in upcoming videos. .NET Framework also provides you inbuilt delegate, action, predicate, and func. These are three inbuilt delegate provided by the .NET Framework. Here, you need to understand difference between all these three delegates separately. Action type delegate, it holds reference to a function which is of type void. That means a function does not return any value. In case of predicate, it holds the reference to a function which returns boolean value, that is true or false. Talking about func, func is a delegate whose implementation is slightly different. In this case, you have to specify input and output parameter. So a function can have 0, 1 or more parameters as input and can have any return type. Flipping to Visual Studio. So in our console application, let me declare one delegate, public delegate void say my delegate, and let me create parameterized delegate, and inside the main function I'll just declare one variable of type delegate, that is my delegate, my del equal to say display. As this function does not exist, it is giving compile time error. You can click on this function and click on this icon to create the method skeleton. You can see. So let me provide body to this. This is display function, and I'll just concat name. So let me invoke this function, my del dot invoke. You can see it is expecting one string parameter. Let me pass it as Akhil. Here we go. This is display function and Akhil. So this is single delegate. If I subscribe multiple function to this delegate, it will be termed as multicast delegate. So for subscribing a method, you can use mydel plus equal to, let me give name as show employees. Let me click on this to generate method skeleton. CW tap shorthand for console.writeLine. This is show employees plus name. Similarly, I can have multiple methods like this. Just need to make sure that its signature is matching that of delegate, that is void and taking one parameter of type string. Add admitted employee, something like that, and this is admitted employee, this is show employees, and this is display function. And now let me subscribe this to my delegate plus equal to and the name of function. So like here I'm using plus equal to for subscribing the function. Similarly, you can use minus equal to unsubscribe this function. So if I invoke the function right now, it should be calling all these three functions. Let me run the application, Control F5. You can see the output. It called all three functions. This is display function, show employees, and admitted employee. Make a note that when you invoke multicast delegate, it will be invoked in the same order you subscribed that to this delegate. Another way to invoke this function, using multicast delegate is that by using get invocation list for each tab. I know this delegate is of type my delegate, and I'll use my delegate item in my del, which is your this variable name dot get invocation list. If I click on this and say F12, you can see it is returning delegate array. So I can iterate this delegate and invoke the function independently. Item dot invoke, and I need to pass one parameter, say Akhilesh Mishra, and let me run the application. You can see output is same. So talking about the inbuilt delegate provided by .NET Framework, so let me get rid of these codes. So it gives you three types of inbuilt delegate: action, predicate, and func. Action is a delegate which can have a reference to a function which is of type void, and predicate will have reference to a function which will return boolean type, that is true or false. Let's implement it. Action my act equal to display. You can click on this, or you can press Alt Shift F10, that is short key for creating the method skeleton. And this is action display method, and I can invoke this delegate in the same way, dot invoke. Similarly, in case of predicate, you can see it is appearing in angular bracket. Anything that appears in angular bracket is termed as generics. If you have not watched my generic video, I will highly encourage you to do that. I will include link for the generics in the description. You can refer that. Let me specify the parameters. Let me pass it a string, and my period equal to say compare check string null or not, and you can click on this to create method skeleton. This is string parameter, and here I can simply return string dot is null or empty, and I will pass obj as a parameter. So if I invoke this function my period dot invoke, it is expecting one string parameter. Let me pass it as Akhil. So it will be printing as false because this value is not empty. So let me print it using the console.writeLine. Let me run the application, and in the output you can see this is action display method, and for the predicate it has returned false. Talking about func, the implementation of func is slightly different. Here you need to specify input and output parameter type, input type and output type. So this is again generic type. You can see 17 overloads, and the first input type you can have at most 16 such parameters as input type and 1 as output type. So let me have two parameters of type integer and output as string, and my fun equal to say calculate, and let me click on this to create method skeleton, and here I'll just return arg1 argument 1 plus argument 2 dot toString. So while invoking the function in the main one, my fun dot invoke, it is expecting two integer parameter 12, 56, and it is returning string type. So let me print that in console.writeLine, and let me give a run. So in the output you can see this is action, this is predicate, and last one is func, which is sum of 12 plus 56, which is 68. In upcoming videos, I will be talking about what is event and what is difference between event and delegate. Thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day. Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about delegate and event. This is continuation of previous video. In the previous video, we tried to understand what is delegate, what are different types of delegate, and how do we call delegate in different ways. We also tried to understand how do we call delegate name dot get invocation list. So next question with respect to multicast delegate is that in case of multicast delegate, if there is an exception in any of the method, will the next subscribed method be executed? Answer is no. As you can see, we have got one delegate model and model equal to display method, and you can click on this to create method skeleton. This is display method. So let me raise one exception here. So new exception, some error occurred, and let me subscribe another method to this model plus equal to show employees, and let me provide a body to this. Now let me invoke my delegate dot invoke. Ideally, it should display this is display method and it should be throwing the exception. Let's run the application. You can see in the output it executed this is display method, then it thrown the exception some error occurred, and the next method in the queue, which is show employees, is not executed. So let me remove the exception part. So in case of multicast delegate, you can assign it to null, model equal to null. So let me run this. So in this case also it will be throwing the exception object reference not set to an instance. So this is one of the flaw in delegate. So this is the place where event comes into the picture. An event declaration adds a layer of abstraction and protection on the delegate instance. Events can be included in an interface declaration. You can call event as a wrapper of a delegate with two restrictions. One is you cannot invoke event directly and you cannot assign any value to event directly. So let me get rid of these codes. So let me create one class, say custom event demo, and here I'll just use public event, and you need to make use of this delegate because event is a delegate wrapper. Say event raised, and here let me just create one public method trigger event. So we can say event triggered by user, and if event raised is not null, then invoke this method. Okay, and in the main method let me instantiate it c equal to new custom event and c dot event raised, you can see, and you can use plus equal to tap. So this will be creating one method for you, say event raised by user, and in this method I can simply use process completed by name, and c dot you can call trigger event, c dot trigger event, and now let me run the application. We can see event triggered by user and event completed by Akhil. So in the event you cannot assign c dot event raised equal to null. As soon as I write this code, I can see this compile time error. Thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day. Hello, welcome to C# interview question and answer video series. In this video, I will be talking about the tuple. Tuple is a class which was introduced in .NET Framework 4.0, and it can have at most 8 elements. In order to access the member value, you can use tuple dot item number. And for accessing the 8th element, which is the last one, you can use tuple dot rest property. A tuple is a data structure that contains a sequence of elements of different data types. And this is the way we create tuple. So let me write tuple and then click on this, go to definition. You can see tuple is a static class and it can have at most 8 elements. So in order to create tuple, you can use tuple dot create 1, 2, 23, 56, 34, and you can have hetero type. I can give Akhil, Paul, so where tuple 1. So in order to access the first member, I can use tuple 1 dot item 1. So you can click on tuple 1 dot item 1 F12. You can see this is get property. So once you assign some value to this, you cannot modify it. So let me create one tuple which has 8 element. Tuple dot create 1, 2, 3, 8th element, and let me assign it to tuple 2. So tuple 2 dot rest will be giving you the last member, which is 90. Another way to create tuple is that you can specify type inside the tuple class. So here let me create one tuple integer, and string, and tuple dot create. So here I need to specify the same type, integer, string, and let me provide some value to this, say 12 and 12, and then Akhil. You can create nested tuple as well. Tuple dot create 1, 2, 3, and the last one is 8th element. I can create another tuple object. Tuple dot create 12, 34, and I can assign to the variable tuple 3. So in order to get this value, which is the 12th one, I can use tuple 3, say tuple 4 dot rest dot item 1. So rest will be giving you the last element, that is last object, and dot item 1 will be giving it 12. Let me run this. To summarize, tuple can have values of at most 8 elements and different data types, and all these values are read-only. Thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day.